This is one of the wildest decisions I've seen Bungie make, because never in the game in Destiny 2 has a bow rolled with this perk, and that's for, like, what I believe, a good reason. And I put a tweet out and said that this season has some wild weapons. A lot were like, yeah, no, you're lying. Well, this is one of those weapons. It's here if you want it, or not. Lethophobia is an extremely useful tool. It's part of the Riven pool, it's craftable. PvE players, it has a lot of utility. I got a full section on it today. Being 1812, 1813 power, I've done Master Lost Sectors with it. You can do some cool things with it. As for PvP players, this one can make you a little uneasy. I mean, I got a 1v6 and comp in here with it, but if anything, just know that it's out there, because it's kind of like a legendary version of Monarch in the Crucible. As far as using it, you can use it aggressively. Use it as a pure, and I mean pure support. Regardless, it's pretty wild. Dragon's Vengeance is the origin trait when an ally dies. When they're near you or you're in critical health, the mag refills, you get range, charge rate, and handling. Pretty decent perk on this, not the best. There's a window where you can shoot the bow shot. They shoot you, you get in red health, the arrow's back, but the range and handling is really nice for it. And the special thing is the first and only bow with Disruption Break. And they somewhat keep that in check because they made it a lightweight bow. More on that later. Disruption Break states that breaking an enemy shield with this weapon makes it more vulnerable to kinetic damage for a brief period. So after you break a shield, you deal 50% more kinetic damage for 5.5 seconds. Enhanced is longer than that. If someone hits you with a Disruption Break weapon, you're fair game for anyone. So if you're using the bow, not only you, but all of your team deals 50% more damage to that target. There were a couple rolls that I were looking for. I don't have it crafted yet. It is craftable, but the first one I landed was one of my main ones. It's Steady Hands Disruption Break. With Steady Hands, after a kill for 8.5 seconds, you get 100 handling and a handling scaler. It's like super quick draw. It allows the setup and swap to be even better, like right here. So first with the Crucible, it deals 137 to the crit, meaning just a crit will proc Disruption Break on it. And that means even a 140 hand cannon. In the gameplay, I'm using a quick draw explosive payload rose, sometimes a thorn, 70 to the body. Now, I want to be clear. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Bow swapping has always been a thing. You can go Monarch, switch to a hand cannon, or another quick swap like a high impact sniper to a high impact hand cannon body shot. But with this one, you're doing the same thing, but a bow that has a much faster draw time than a lot of the other bows. But just like how with Monarch, you know how it would just take you out of gunfights? You would take the shot, have to recover. This does that too, because if someone hits you with this, you're hit with Disruption Break. For 5.5 seconds, you take 50% more kinetic damage. A 140 hand cannon is just going to 2-tap you, even if you're in a rift. So in a true team setting like Trials or maybe an Iron Banner, if a team has one of these bows in the back just landing headshots, it can be trouble. Now, they tamed this by making it a lightweight frame, because with the bows, you do need accuracy. This thing has 23 base, and historically on these bows, you want something like elastic string. But with this, that's not how you're using it. That gets it down to 13 accuracy. That's a no-go. It isn't about overall draw speed. You actually want to build into accuracy for this thing. That is the range. It's a blint weapon. You hit them with it, you switch. So as far as PvP Disruption Break, if you decide to craft it, you should go Polymer String, Fiberglass Arrow, Accuracy Masterwork, then Impulse Amplifier, or Steady Hands with Disruption Break. Now, they've talked about bows a lot as far as changes. If they nuke bows, this might get hit, whether it be crit damage or aim assist, whatever. But as it sits right now, it's pretty special. Know that it's out there, and it can put in a lot of work. And the last part about the Crucible, and then I'm going to go into PvE, Disruption Break itself is strong. And this being the only bow is a big deal because we have weapons like Shadow Price. There's some glaives. There's a lot of GLs. There's a machine gun. There's pulse rifles, shotguns. When it comes to the Crucible, only two things really get used. One is going to be a fusion rifle, Timeline's Vertex, Trinary system from Gambit, Zealot's Reward, that old Exile's Curse that I talked about, or it's going to be a GL. Specifically Explosive Personality, the Wave Frame. You shoot that on the ground, 50% more damage, you have an easy cleanup. But the point is, this is like the first and only primary weapon that can serve this purpose of Disruption Break. Takes primary ammo, it's endless, you can do it at a distance. There's nothing quite like it. Keep that in mind. And going into PvE, same deal. There's a Shadow Price, there's Stars in Shadow, the Ogma. It's a primary pulse, a primary auto rifle, and you're not really going to break a shield with, let's say, Stars in Shadow, or this season's Adhortative, and then switch to your other kinetic, maybe another pulse, another hand cannon to do 50% more with that. No, you're not doing that. But it being a bow, the utility of a bow, safe at a distance, good, clean precision damage, that kind of changes everything with the things that you can do with it. My personal favorite thing has been running Lucky Pants with either Warden's Law or Malfeasance. And as far as beefier enemies that have a shield, I have a lot of gameplay on the moon here to show it, but this Warden's Law gets up to like 44,000 per bullet in a 2 burst. So 85,000 a burst is pretty strong. And Lucky Pants in general with Warden or one of these hand cannons like the Vorpal Malfeasance, even when I was doing that Lost Sector, I got the Overload Rocket, which is Dragon's Breath, then Lucky Pants into Warden's Law, even being 27 below power, it rips. It is melting. There's Unstoppable Bow this season, so you can use it there. But anything with a shield going into Lucky Pants, then making kinetic weapons do 50% more, and that could be a sniper too. Like, there's a world where you could put on some kinetic surges, then use something like Izanagi's Burden with 3 times kinetic surge, disruption break, and then just absolutely wipe it from existence. 340, 400,000 on that shot. So this bow, it's gonna have its use cases. When there's a lot of shields, you could bring this bow and a strong primary with it. I was doing the coil with it, and it did great. Like I said, you have the safety of the bow playstyle from the back. You have that utility. Yeah, it's a lightweight bow. Sometimes it might take you a couple shots to break the shield, but you are melting whatever you break. And again, that goes into a Vorpal Malfeasance or a Vorpal Deadman's Tail, or doing the Lucky Pants thing. Makes that double primary pretty strong. And since Disruption Break is a weapon perk, other debuffs are going to be applied. So maybe you break their shields, hit them with a tractor cannon. That's all going to stack. So when it comes to PvE, I would still stick with Polymer Fiberglass for the accuracy, but we have some utility with a new perk, Permeability. Using your class ability changes this weapon's damage type to match your subclass until you still have the weapon. There's a lot of things you can do with that. Maybe add in Strand with Sever on your subclass. Going from a Void Shield Breaker to a Solar. There's utility there. Steady Hands is going to be great just because of the freedom that you're going to have to go between your primary, secondary, and heavy. We do have Repulsor Brace. It is a Void Bow. Unfortunately, there's no destabilizing rounds. So for the most part, third column, I would go with Permeability. I haven't tested it too much, but it looks like it has play, or Steady Hands. And in the final column, I'm just going to say Disruption Break. I mean, there's a lot of explosive head bows out there. We do have some new perks. Deconstruct. Dealing sustained damage grants bonus damage against vehicles and constructs and partially refills the mag. And damage with primary ammo or against constructs provides additional progress. So those constructs are barricades, turrets, stasis crystals. There's attrition orbs, dealing sustained damage, creates an orb of power. Like, those are fine, those are cool. There's high ground. But Disruption Break is the calling for this. Like, there's no other way to put it. With everything that it has, otherwise, I think it's going to be better on other bows. But nothing has Disruption Break. I do plan to craft this thing. Even if it gets nerfed in PvP, it's fun there. It's pretty lethal there. But in PvE, like I said, as a solo player, the Lucky Pants thing, the Vorpal Malfeasance thing, just in general, that 50% more is just awesome. I like the play loop with it, and it does really, really good. So as you're playing this season, you can put this on your radar if you want or not. Conclusion is, for the Crucible, when you land a headshot, it takes them out of the gunfight for 5.5 seconds. You deal a lot of damage to them. As far as PvE, it opens up that safety at a distance. You don't have to get in there with a fusion rifle. You don't have to get in there or shoot a long-range GL shot. You can chip away with the bow, then switch to your kinetic weapon. And sniper rifles got that 50% buff. There's hand cannons, there's Vorpal weapons in that primary slot. There's a lot of things that you can do. And it's taken them this long to put Disruption Break on a bow. And since they did, I'm fine with them putting it on a lightweight. I'm kind of glad it's not on another frame. We'll see how they go in PvP. But in PvE, I think it's pretty great. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about the first Disruption Break bow in Destiny 2. What are your thoughts on it? Have you used it? And there's a lot of interactions you can come up with. There's a ton you can do. Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.